Hi, welcome back to the next video in the Thunderbike Race Prep series. So if you'll remember, in the last video we stripped down the heads, which got us to the position you can see on the bench. Today I'm going to be cleaning the heads, try to get rid of some of the carbon and the filth that was on the heads. This is the horizontal head that was absolutely filthy. This week I've been soaking it regularly and degreasing it to try and knock the dirt back, and it's not doing too bad a job. So today, degrease, pressure wash it, stick it in the parts washer, just have a good bougie through with the oil, and then we'll clean up the valves and lap those in and restore the rockers. I'm not going to do the valve shimming today because that's a far more involved video, and I'd like to give some dedicated time to explaining that process and how it works. Okay, so let's get on with it. Okay, so that's the heads degreased and washed and blown dry to get most of the water out, and then just padded dry with towels just to make sure the remainder is out. There's a few little bits and pieces that still need to be done, so need to scrape off any of the sort of remaining gasket gently. Got to clean this carbon out. Just across the faces you can see some sealant that's been used, which was incorrect. That needs to be taken away as well. But the heads have come up really nice, in fact, you know, not too bad at all. So they're cleaned up nice. Got to take off the sealant on the gaskets that sits on the cam cover faces. Just clean up the exhaust gasket area. So some minor bits and pieces of work to do, but primarily just need to get rid of this carbon because it acts as a heat sink, and as the engine's apart, might as well clean it. Okay, let's do that next step. Okay, so carbon's cleaned off. You'll have seen that I just used the multi-tool. All I was doing in there is a little felt head, a little bit of polishing compound just to take out any fine scratches that might have been there. Also just polishes the head slightly in that area just to help carbon stop building up. As a race engine, this will probably get stripped, certainly the top end rebuild every season and a full rebuild every other season, depending on how many meetings I do, so we'll be able to see how successful that is. But Yeah, don't worry, the black that you can see everywhere is just polishing compound, no carbons left. I'm just going to give that a final rinse down, and those are good to go. So the head's cleaned and the valves all cleaned up. We've just got those done and got the worst of the carbon off of the exhaust valves. So both heads done, not come up too bad. So the heads are looking pretty good and pretty clean. Just got to rebuild those now. Okay, so time to do the valve lapping. This is what we're going to use. Valve lapping tool. It's got two suction pads, a slightly smaller one at the top, big one at the bottom. Just sticks on the valve, and then you twizzle the valve left and right. Got some fine paste, some coarse paste, and some WD-40 to clean it off once it's done. I start off with the fine because hopefully I can get away with just using that, so I minimise the amount of material taken off. But if there's a lot of excessive wear on the valve seat face, then I'll use coarse and then fine. Effectively what you're trying to do is make sure that you get a good valve seating face just here on both the valve seat and the back of the valve, and you want that to be about 1.2 to 1.4 mil wide with no obviously pitting marks, and a nice even finish all the way round. Okay, so let's get on with that. Okay, so that's the first head done. You can see we've got a nice even wear pattern where we've just ground the, or lapped the valves in, which is effectively grinding it, but pretty good position. And then you can just see the different valve seats. Okay, so that's both sets of valves lapped in to the heads. Went relatively smoothly. I had to use a little bit of coarse compound on each of the exhaust valves because they suffer from more pitting than the intake valves, but I was able to go straight to fine paste on the inlet valves, so not too long at all with those. Okay, all I need to do now is get the valve stem seals in, and then we can start putting the rockers back in. Okay, so just need to put these valve stem oil seals in. You can just see how that's made up, and what I do is I use 10mm long reach, which just sits quite nicely like that, and then I just put that over the valve stem seal, and then use a spanner that will go in, and it just sits against the top there, and then you leverage down on it. So I'll just show you how I do that with the other camera setup. Always helps to put a little bit of oil on the valve stem seal so that you can just aid it going on. Okay, so let's do that. Okay, as you can see now, all the valve stem seals are in place. So all that's left to do for this video is just to get the rocker gear in now, which is an interesting experience, particularly with the closers and their springs, but let's crack on with that. Okay, trying to get the closing rockers in first. So what I do is I put this roughly into position, which will be the other side of this hole here, so it will roughly sit like this. There's a small tang that you can just about see here, and this part of the spring must go underneath that tang. So I get that into place. I'll then hold that in place with the pinion for the rocker, and then I bring the rocker in afterwards, push it into its seating housing and on the spring, and then finally maneuver it into place and push the whole pinion in, and then just gently tap that home with a rubber mallet, and that will be in place. I'm going to try and film it on this camera here, but as you can see, it's not the greatest of views, so my fingers might get in the way, so I can only apologise. So let's crack on with that anyway. Not the easiest of things to film, putting that back in, but you can see what I've done is I've got them in. No shims in as yet, because I'm going to leave that until the clearance video so you can see how that's done. And obviously no cams as yet either, so got to do all of that yet. So all ready to drop the cams in. Next stage will be to stick the shims in. I'll put some relatively small shims in to get us to a good place to be able to take some clearances, and we'll talk through the cams before I put them in as well, because there's differences between what we've got as the existing camshafts and what will be going in there. Okay, thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please click like and hit the subscribe button for more content in this Thunderbike race engine and race bike build series. Cheers for now.